Thank you. I think I do need the mic. We'll give it a shot. All right. Thank you all for coming. It was really beautiful to watch you dancing and hearing these Hebrew songs I've heard my whole life. Even when I was a child, we sang these songs. Thank you. Thank you. I'll just explain why I didn't join in with you. Both my parents have died this past year. And in Jewish custom, you have a year, 11 months of mourning. It's called you're an Even. After a parent dies, and you're not supposed to sing or dance or celebrate. Even when I go to a wedding, I have to leave right after the chuppah. I can't even stay for the meal. And that will end in February. So it's sad. And then on top of that, and you may remember, I was here just a few months ago in May, and I didn't want to hear any music, and I said, this is just really just inappropriate. We're in war. And I have to tell you all, it's beautiful to watch you dance, and it's great. And I think even the dancers and the victims of the Nova Festival would want you to dance. I think so. But I still have to tell you, we are still at war. This is a terrible situation. There was a barrage of rockets just today, 6:30 in the morning, all around Modi'in. I think they were aiming for the airport. The airport, it is still war, and I know you're very far away. And you may not feel it anymore. And the news, maybe there's different news you're watching, and that's just get a few seconds of your attention. But this is real life for us. We're living through this. This isn't news. This isn't a show. It's not a movie at all. I have 2 soldiers. I have 5 children. And, my third boy is 18, and he's going to go in March. I have one now stationed in Gaza. I have one outside of Gaza in a kibbutz. And, they're going in and out, my sons, and it's very scary. Every time we see the news, and I'm on the chat with the parents of the group of soldiers. I'm also on the Hatzalah group, and I'll talk about that in just a minute. So I see everything going on. And, sometimes they're a little slow to release the names to the public, but I see them, and I don't want to look. It's very scary. And it's just not getting better. It's slowing down in a sense, as we're not losing as many boys, but we're still losing them. And each boy is a whole life. I'll give you some numbers. That's just the terror in Judea and Samaria, the Bible belt of Israel, where we live, Zion, yes. Since January, between January and June just this year, 3,772 terror attacks. Of those, 1,868 are rock throwing, aiming to kill mothers and fathers driving their kids to school on the road. That's the aim. 456 firebombing, those are Molotov cocktails, aiming to kill. 299 attempted bombings. 109 shootings, and of those shootings, 6 murders and 30 injuries. 150 burning tires. What's a burning tire? You're driving along, there's a tire on the road. You do. You either stop and then you're ambushed, or you drive around and you drive off the road. 371 lasers in the eye. Terrorists stand on the side of the road, you see the car, and shoots right at the windshield, so you can't see, drives you off the road, causes an accident, so you die. Car rammings, I don't have the number, but just recently, last week, maybe you saw the truck that rammed right into the soldier's post, drove right over. The guy didn't have a chance, right off the road near Givat Asaf, right in Benjamin. And these are happening every day. I don't know what you're getting on the news. This is our news. This is our world. This is real. And it's very dangerous. All that you hear about the Hamas in Gaza is exactly what is going on in Yehuda and Shomron. These numbers aren't new. These incidents aren't new. This is going on before October 7th. This has been going on for years, because the Arabs see that this is keeping the focus on us and is away from them, because if it wasn't on us, the Arabs would be fighting each other. And they're using the Palestinians as pawns. Their leaders are using them as pawns. And it's working, because the whole world is teaming up and ganging up on us and falling for it. If you remember, just think back to October 8th. How did you feel on October 8th? How did the world feel on October 8th? We had their sympathy. They loved Israel. And how long did it take for them to turn on us? A week? Less? And what are they saying today? The poor Palestinians. We need a ceasefire. There's a humanitarian crisis. Well, whose fault is that? So it's a terrible situation. And, I have this speech that I wrote, and it's not even any different than what I spoke here months ago, because really nothing has changed at all. Things are just going on. And yes, we are retrieving bodies. Unfortunately, a lot of dead bodies. And some of the hostages have been released. But now we're on a 7-front war instead of just Gaza. And it's complicated, and it's taking a lot of manpower. And our boys are tired, but the morale is still high. I must say, the morale is pretty high. And we're not going to give up. We're not going to give up, but we really do need the world to be with us. And I don't think it's there where it once was. But our days and our lives have gone on. We've just adjusted. We've adjusted to our boys and our fathers and our husbands and our brothers being away, some of them not coming home. We just built a big path behind Susia, between the ancient Susia, which you're all going to come to, right, Pastor? You're all going to come. And it's about 1 kilometer to the modern Susia where we live. And in between is an Arab village, an illegal Arab village. And we just built a path, a road with lights in honor, in memory of the 4 soldiers who have been killed in my yeshuv. And that's what Jews do. They move forward, they go on, and they remember. But it's so fast. I mean, these boys just died. It's very fast. It's very strange to be doing these memorials so quickly. And it's almost like the back of your mind. Is there going to be another name that we need to add? Everyone's thinking it. I mean, we know these boys. It's very sad when your children in their spare time go to funerals. And when your children in their spare time go to memorials. And when their teachers are missing because they're serving at the front lines, or their teachers are missing and that they don't come back because they're killed. It's very sad. They grow up very fast, the children in Israel today. They're seeing things and hearing things and experiencing things nobody should ever have to. Not just the ones who experienced the massacre, because that's on a whole other level. But a woman just now in the ladies' room said to me, Natalie, is there anyone speaking to these families, helping them get through, praying for them? And I'll tell you, your prayers are working. They are. It could have been a lot worse. Israel could be falling apart, despite what you see in the news with these demonstrations. That is anger. That is frustration. Anybody would feel that. They're blaming the government. Who are they going to blame? They're going to blame Hamas? They're just angry. These prayers that I have on the front, and I have some here, and I gave them before, I'll give them out again. One side is for the chayalim, our soldiers. The other side is for the captives that are being held hostage. Another card here, which you should keep with you at all times, also I have it in English, is the traveler's prayer. This is what we say every time we get in the car. When you're about 250 meters from your home, and you're in the wild, an uninhabited place, which you don't have any of these spaces in Florida, right? Maybe around the Everglades. You say this to keep you out of danger. You're asking God to get you there safely and get you home safely. Prayers are powerful. I'm here today. My sons are fine. The prayers are helping. The Hamas, on that horrible day, October 7th, they had plans to overrun bases. There were 3,000 of them that got into Israel, they count. But really, were there only 3,000? I mean, they found 4 in an apartment in Beersheba 4 days later. They found 3 in my yeshuv 2 days later. They got all over Israel. We don't know how many there are. They're not going to tell you how many there are. And you know what, Israel? Don't. You shouldn't. Israel doesn't need to tell the world what their plans are and to tell the world what their mistakes are. No one else does. We don't need your approval. We don't need your advice. No, thank you. And we need to take care of ourselves. And, if I was in the government, we would be. But Natalie's not in the government yet. So I'm just kind of here to give you an update. And unfortunately, I don't have much good news. I don't see an end. They told me this already way back when I did my first trip, Natalie, it's going to be a long war. I had no idea what that meant. As an American mother, I had no experience in war. I had no experience being the mother of a soldier. What do you say to your son when he comes home? What do you say to him before he goes out to battle? I actually asked him, my son, my one paratrooper, I didn't say, are you scared? I said, is anyone scared? What happens if soldiers are scared? And he told me, they're sent to another unit. And I said, did that happen? He said, yes, 3. They were sent to another unit. They don't want anybody scared. I didn't ask him if he was scared. I guess not. He wasn't sent to another unit. But our boys are very brave. And they're fighting on. And, they tried to trick them. I told you this last time, I think. They tried to trick them by putting up microphones and having the voices of the hostages call out to lure the soldiers closer so they could shoot them. And they also pretended and had white flags waving, pretending they were giving up, and when they actually had weapons strapped to them to lure them. And you probably remember that some Israelis ran and they were shot by mistake. Mistakes happen, and it's just a terrible situation. And I don't think any country would do as much as we are. And I don't think we should have to justify ourselves either. I'm asked this question all the time, what is wrong with the government? Why aren't they doing more? And I just don't have an answer. But I don't know if U.S. pressure is going to make any difference. I really don't know. Whoever lands in the White House, will that make a difference? I don't know. We can't be looking outwards for always someone to save us. Why is there a police car out front? Why can't Jews stand up for themselves? Every synagogue I've gone to has a police car. The Arabs see Jews as weak. They saw all those kibbutznikim as weak. The Arabs are a very different culture than the West. They're not like Christians and Jews. They have a culture of honor and shame. And when you're weak, they'll pounce. And if you're strong and you fight, they'll back down. And Christians and Jews have to be strong together, because first is the Saturday people and then is the Sunday people. I brought a map just to show you exactly what area is Judea and Samaria. So when you come, you know. And I have some out, but it's a big area we're talking about now. And this is now where all the focus is. This is now where the Muslim Brotherhood and Hamas and the Islamic regime, they've always been there, but now they see that they have an opportunity because all of our men and our boys are gone. So on October 8th, our internal defense teams got expanded, and as you probably remember, El Al flights went all over the world bringing home Israelis so they could all join up their units. And some of those people who came home defended our yeshuvim. And we had a team that was about 8 men, and now it became 40 men. And we got sandbags, and we got reinforcements and new defense posts put up. And it's necessary. We actually had the Army come help us out a couple weeks ago. We are now a little bit vulnerable. And in that area that I showed you, Judea and Samaria has like Arab cities there. And you're going to be driving, when you come over, Pastor Roger's going to get you an armored bus so that you don't get those rocks thrown at you, and you're not going to get bombs thrown at you. And if anything does happen, your bus is going to be a protection. And that's what you need where we live, because there are angry enemy Arabs there. I'm not saying they're all bad. That's not what I said. There are good Arabs, of course there are. But their leaders are telling them to kill us. And this whole area, Judea and Samaria, is now the battleground. And yes, at night, the IDF are going into these cities, and they are conducting raids, and they are gathering up weapons, and they are arresting terrorists, and some of them they're killing. But it's not enough. There are tons of these guys. As soon as you wipe out 10, 20 more take their place. It doesn't matter also what leaders we're targeting in Hamas, in Gaza, the Hamas. There are tons of leaders They're just ready to, there's just 10 more to take their place. There's so many of them. And this is their ideology, this is their training, and this is what they know. They know to kill Jews. They're very motivated to do this. They're rewarded to do this. It's more than money, it's honor. When an Arab high schooler, a teenager, a terrorist, kills a Jew, in his classroom, his desk and chair becomes a shrine. And people say, but they're so nice. They should work for us. We should have them back. You know what? Are you going to their house every day? Do you hear what they're talking about at the kitchen table? Because I don't. Just because they're nice to you during the day doesn't mean they're going to be nice to you tomorrow. They're not one of us. They have outside influences, and they're not ours. And we live with these people. We live with them, I'll tell you. Our supermarkets have Arabs and Jews. The clerks are Arabs and Jews. Our bus drivers are Arabs and Jews. Our hospitals are Arabs and Jews. Our shopping malls are Arabs and Jews. We do live with them. We do live together. But there's no love there. There's no love there, and there's not going to be. Not when their leaders are rewarding them for killing us. Right. And their leaders are just goading them on. And it's not just their leaders, the whole Arab world. There are 22 Arab countries who can take them in. They do not need to stay in Gaza. None of them have opened their doors. The U.S., nobody has put any pressure on them. They're not doing anything. They're watching this play out because they are against the Jews. It's horrible to say, I hate it, but it is the truth. The one Jewish country is alone. To be a Jew is very hard today. It's very lonely today. We need our friends. We need our Christian friends. I'm here on behalf of Rescuers Without Borders. We are the first response medics who are operating in these areas in Judea and Samaria. On October 7th, we went down to the Gaza border. We were there. We were helping. We were helping at the Shuva Junction. We helped over 200 people side by side with the army. And Magen David Adom, the main medical services, were waiting for instructions to enter. We don't need instructions. We're not a government organization, so we went in. And we have that ability everywhere. We don't need to wait, and we don't need to get permission. We also live in these areas, so we know the back roads. We know the shortcuts. We know how to get there. And whenever there's a terror attack, you have to understand it probably happens here when you have a dangerous situation. First of all, you have to close off the area. But we are armed. We're already there, and we don't need to wait. So we get there first, and there's active shooting attacks sometimes, and there's sometimes the terrorist is hiding. You have to find him, and we can't wait, and we don't need to wait. We can get in there, we can help the people, put them on an ambulance, an armored ambulance if we're lucky, and get them away and evacuate them. And there are active shooting attacks all over now, a lot in the Jordan Valley, in Judea and Samaria, and sometimes even right in the middle of Jerusalem. It's wild. It's a lot of action, and it's really not going to get any better because their leaders are telling them, go for it, let's do another October 7th. So I did have a little video made. It's about 4 minutes. Maybe we'll just take a look at it if that's okay up there, and we'll have some questions afterwards, all right?
Rescuers Without Borders, or SSF Atala, was created in the year 2000 following the Second Intifada. Our mission is to arrive on the scene as soon as possible and treat the affected civilians during attacks, natural disasters, accidents, and also in times of war. Since October 7, war has been raging in Israel, where Hamas carried out large-scale terrorist attacks in the south, while Hezbollah attacks from the north. SSF Atala operates more than 1,600 volunteer rescuers in Israel, equipped with ultra-modern rescue kits, defibrillators, and highly efficient communication systems. Our response fleet numbers 11 first response motorbikes, 4 ambulances, and 2 armored emergency vehicles that can reach any danger zone. On October 7th, our rescuers treated more than 200 injured people. And since then, over 100 rescuers from SSF Hatzalah have been deployed in the border areas of southern and northern Israel. They are doing everything possible to protect and support the local population directly targeted by terrorist attacks and missile strikes. In response to this unprecedented security crisis that Israel is facing, SSF Hatzalah has implemented life-changing actions, such as emergency aid and care for the hundreds of victims of the terrorist attacks in Kfar Aza, Netivot, Sderot, and Be'eri, organizing countless evacuations to Israeli hospitals, creating a crisis center in Sderot to manage and coordinate the actions of our rescuers on site, continuous logistical and medical support for more than 670 elderly and sick people still confined to their homes, creating a mobile therapy farm using animal interaction to treat the hundreds of children from the south who've endured October 7 and were forced to suddenly leave their homes. These children suffer from deep trauma, and our therapists are continuously helping them process their harsh reality. These life-saving and life-changing initiatives need your support. Your help will continue our ongoing operations and hopefully expand them, helping as many people as possible. Thousands of children and soldiers suffer from post-trauma in Israel, and SSF Hatzalah is in the process of creating a PTSD treatment center near Jerusalem for all those affected. Helmets and bulletproof vests are urgently needed in protecting our rescuers that reach the most active of danger zones and disaster areas. Our We Will Save Again program allows you to equip our rescuers in need of this critical equipment with kits dedicated to the memory of the Nova Festival victims. This project is carried out in partnership with their families and is very important to them.
זוהר מאיר, אבא של בר זוהר.
איתך, אני אמא שלי אליתך, שנרצח במתקפת הטרור של 7 באוקטובר. שהשם לפחות של הילדים שלנו, הזיכרון שלהם יהיה לנצח. אני חושבת שהפרויקט הזה הוא מאוד מבורך, עצם הפרויקט עצמו, ועצם זה שבמותם הם ציוו לאחרים את החיים.
This is one of the mothers who was murdered in the Nova Festival on October 7th, along with all the others. She came tonight to dedicate one of these bags.
הפרויקט הזה מאוד משמעותי לנו, חושבים שלהציג נפש זה אחד הדברים הכי גדולים שאפשר לעשות, ולעילוי נשמתם זה ממש זכות עבורנו. אז אני מודה לכל מי שלקח חלק בדבר הגדול הזה.
As it allows something good to come from their devastating loss. This program also sends a powerful message in response to terrorism, that each victim of terrorism, hundreds of lives will be saved. We ask for your support to continue this chain of solidarity and love for the people of Israel who are going through one of the most trying periods in their history. Please help SSF Hatzalah continue its mission to save and rehabilitate as many lives as possible. Let us work together for a more united and humane society, for he who saves a life saves an entire world.
That was a dedication ceremony for all these bags. And it was supposed to be at the Nova Festival site, which used to be called the Be'eri Forest. They turned it into a kind of a memorial site, and we couldn't even go there because there were rockets falling. And we actually had to go to the Jordan Valley, 2 hours away. Only like 2 families came. I could not believe this mother. She's my age, and she had a daughter who died at the festival. And look how like poised she is, just smiling. I was just shocked. These families are incredible, and they, I think every family is different. I don't know if I would have the strength to be smiling in front of a camera, seeing my child's face on a medical bag. But that's one project we've done, and we got permission from these families to do that. And these medical bags are what our rescuers use and have with them all the time. So those are now in memory of those Nova victims. And another project that they mentioned is PTSD, which is now all over Israel, post-traumatic stress disorder. We have a farm on Kibbutz Urim along the Gaza border, and it's a horse therapy farm. It's a really beautiful project, and it was started because years ago, tunnels were discovered under a lot of those kibbutzim, and rockets were coming over, and the children started like wetting their beds and stuttering, and they couldn't sleep anymore. They were having problems. So they opened this horse therapy farm to help them. We have a lot of French donors who did that. And now, not only are there all the children, they were evacuated and living in hotels and seeing horrors. Some of them were taken, some of them were murdered, some of their parents murdered, some of their riding instructors were murdered. It's just awful. Some of the soldiers and the soldiers have post-traumatic stress disorder, and some of our own medics are soldiers. The very interesting thing about Israel is everybody's a soldier. It's not like here. It's not like you decide to be a soldier when you grow up and that's going to be your career. No. You don't have a choice. Everybody is a soldier. And when you're even an adult, you go back to serve. So like I told you earlier, it's not just my boys, but my neighbor's husband and this one's son-in-law and brother. And I went to this counseling session a couple months into the war, and I had been hoping, who can I talk to? They offered a counseling session for mothers in my yeshuv, and I went. And we sat in a circle, and there were maybe 15 women there. And we went around the circle, and the therapist told us, tell everyone who you have fighting. And I thought I was such a big deal because I have 2 sons. But some of these women had 6. And it wasn't just sons, it was sons-in-law and brothers and husbands. So when I tell you I wasn't prepared to be a mother of soldiers, I am really unprepared for war because I don't have nearly as big a family as these other people. We're alone in Israel. I don't have any extended family. It's just me, Jordan, and the kids. These neighbors of mine they had to open up their home to the rest of their family. And they're losing and they're stressed in a whole different way than me. And I was really taken aback by that. So it gave me a new perspective, like, wow, we are all in here. We're all affected. And I started to understand it wasn't just me who didn't know what to do. I wasn't alone. But it's not something you talk about. That I know, at least where I live, it's not something you talk about. And, I see these families, I see these women. Some of these women are friends of mine. We lost 4 soldiers in Susia, and 2 of them, I'm very good friends with the mothers. I'm the lifeguard in the summertime at the pool, and 2 of these women are swimmers. I see them every single day. Every single day. And I didn't know what to say. I didn't know what to say. What do you say? Do you talk like regular? I mean, you see them at the funeral. You see them at the Shiva. You don't say much. You do what? You continue small talk? It doesn't seem right. But you want to remind them? How do you behave? My own children, my son, these are his friends who lost their brother. And he even said to me, Mom, it's awkward now. I don't know what to say. So that's just a small piece. It's difficult. It's very strange. It's very hard. I wanted to mention something else about that movie, what they said. The PTSD. We're opening a center outside Jerusalem in Givat Zev for our soldiers, and that's nice to hear, and I hope that happens. And if any of you are interested in getting involved in that, let me know, because that's important, and that's not just, these aren't just the soldiers that I know. This is nationwide. This is going to be a trauma that will probably last a very long time. I've met other people, and I'm even trying to bring someone to come with me on my next trip, and he's a lone soldier. And I met him in May, and I'm trying to get him to talk to my director, and he wasn't answering, and he said, I'm sorry, Natalie, I have PTSD, and I'm not always able to answer my phone or be available. I hope you can work with that, but I understand if you can't. And I thought, it's fine, I understand, because it must not be happening to just him. It's all over. And that's another thing we're going to have to deal with. And the society is going to have to adjust and be very accommodating. And I think it will be. I think Israel gets it. And Everybody's involved. You know, this has touched everyone. Everyone. Even you. Even Americans who come over now, they're not coming over and doing the same old trips they used to do. No, they're helping. They're going to the farms. They're picking fruits. They're going to the hospitals. They're seeing soldiers. They're going to shivas. They're going to funerals. They're going to memorials. They're filling the homes of these people. Some of these people don't have family, don't have friends. Some of these lone soldiers are alone there. And a call will go out. There's a funeral, there's a shiva, they need people, please go. And thousands of people go to these shivas. You're going to shiva today, whether you know the person or not. There's a lot of chesed and mitzvot to do. And everyone is busy. And no one is untouched. And we need our friends now really more than ever. And I know it's been a long time, and I just think it's going to keep going. It's not going to get easier. The world, I mean, look at the election situation here. Look at what's going on. I cannot believe that this woman might win. But she might, and she is no friend of Israel, and she is no friend of the Jews. And you can say what you want. Oh, she has a Jewish husband. I'm sorry, no, she's no friend. And we're going to be alone. And even if Mr. Trump wins, we're really going to be alone because that's 4 years. And for all we know, someone will try to assassinate him again and succeed. You know, it's a very scary world today. And the Islamic fanaticism has their plan, and they're working that plan. And they've been working it a long time. And it didn't just happen. We're going to wake up one day, and I'm not trying to scare you, but you know this better than anyone. You're going to wake up one day, and they're going to be in charge. I mean, you think what happened in Europe happened overnight? They let them in. They play the victim for a while till they're, 12%, and they have their orders, and they're following their plan. They've got a plan. They have a plan, and they're extremely patient. And the world just lets it go by. They're busy. Same in Israel. We're busy with our high-tech jobs. We're busy with our drip irrigation. We're busy, with ways and all our inventions. And in the meantime, the Arabs are breaking through the fence. That was the plan, too. So I said I would take questions, and I will. So ask away. This is your chance. Not that I'm going anywhere. But, yes.
For the elders that are really elders, they have no one. Do you have a housing or other family members take them in?
When you say elders, you mean older people with no family?
Yes, both elders.
Well, there are arrangements. I believe a lot of them do have helpers. Some of those caretakers left. A lot of those caretakers who are in those positions are Thai workers. A lot of them left after October 8th. Same with the farmers. A lot of the farm help left. It was just too dangerous. Some of them were actually kidnapped. I guess there have been replacements that we actually were talked about in the movie. So one of the jobs of our rescuers is we did station about 40 rescuers down there along Stay Road in that town to help, because we have already shelters there. We know the municipality and the directors and the mayor, and we knew how to organize and find out who needed help. So we are supporting the elder people. It's not just us. There are other people helping them. There's services. At first, it was true they were alone, and they couldn't leave. Not everybody was able to leave. Not everyone had to leave. They were ordered to leave for their own good, but not everybody left. If you had a farm, for instance, you didn't have to leave. You didn't leave. You stayed. If you couldn't walk and you couldn't leave, you stayed, and you got someone to help you, and our rescuers did that for a long time. And we're still doing it now. We're doing it up north.
And these, I was just confirming with my husband, are these people that work for Rescuers Without Borders, they're just volunteers?
Yeah, they're volunteers. We have 1,600 volunteers. So they have real jobs, and they have their own, families. A lot of those people are mothers and fathers with families and jobs, but they're always on call. They're always on call. And they live here. We live in Judea and Samaria, so we're close. We're not like living in Jerusalem at a station taking a shift. It's not like that. We live with the ambulance parked in front of your house. Yeah. It's not like that here, right? Mm-hmm. Well, here you have straight roads, flat roads also. You probably get pretty fast service. Where we are, the roads are mountainous. It's very, very, it's different terrain, it's hard. And also, there's space between the Jewish communities. And so you have like maybe 8 kilometers from one Jewish community to another, and in between are maybe enemy Arab villages, and that's where the problems are. The problems are usually on the road. So this is why we need good vehicles, and we need armored vehicles, and we are armed ourselves.
You talked about doing a PTSD program, your organization. Does the government have any PTSD programs? Are you going to partner with them? Can you give us an indication of what you all plan to do in putting together such a program? And yes, I would be interested in being a partner.
Wonderful. So the government helps us through the, what do we call it? Kupa Cholim, the medical services help us now with the students, the patients who need therapy. We'll partner with them again to get some help with that, yes. And we are planning a center. This will be a center and a horse riding and indoor center. So it'll be a corral and horses, and then therapy inside. That's the plan. And it'll be for soldiers.
Oh, for soldiers?
Mm-hmm. It'll be for soldiers. I don't think we're going to say, oh, if you're a child, you can't come here. But most of the children now are in the Gaza border area. I don't know if they're going to come to Jerusalem. That I don't know. But I know the goal is soldiers. Because there are a lot of soldiers who need this complete treatment. And it'll be like a soldier's house. 3 months, they go there and they'll get treated. Now, it's funny, a complete treatment. I don't know if that ever goes away. I don't think so. And it's even hard to diagnose. But I hate that this is like a specialty now of Israelis, but it is. And they know what they're doing. So if they say they need a 3-month treatment and that'll work in a very high level, then that's what we're going to do. Yes?
I've wondered this since October 7th. Why didn't the people that lived in the kibbutzim that are close to Gaza and that were attacked, why weren't they armed? I did an interview with one group. They had 4 rocks and 1 gun to fight off the terrorists. And they fought them off. They kept the place closed, the gates shut. They didn't get into the kibbutz. But I thought everybody carried a gun.
Okay, I'll tell you what happened, and I thought this was known. Weeks before, the country was kind of like angry and fighting, and there were all these divides. And one thing that did happen down there in Gaza was the army took the guns and put them in an armory of all the Kitat Kononut. The Kitat Kononut is the first response team, and they convinced them to put the guns in a locked armory area because there had been theft, all right, which is like ridiculous. Maybe 1 gun had been stolen or something. And so they listened, and they locked up their weapons. So they were locked up. How ridiculous is that? Don't give up your weapon. But they're naive, okay? These people were so far left. They had the Arabs working there. They had projects with them. They had one story of a woman who had given these maps of the kibbutz to her Arab friend because they were doing some kind of exchange program. She gave everything away to him. They knew who had a dog. They knew the family's names. They had it all. They gave them the keys. Plus, they were having them working there, so they knew where to go. They had them plowing the fields in that morning. I mean, a lot of stories how they were dressed up like soldiers. My son got a new uniform. Why did he get a new uniform? Because their uniforms were stolen, and so they needed something new so they could identify each other. There was a lot of looking the other way and underestimating the enemy. And, I get so upset when I see an Israeli army officer or a colonel coming to America now and puffing out his chest and getting standing ovations. Why are you clapping for these guys? You should punch them in the face. I mean, it's disgusting what they did, and some of these guys are still in power. They're slowly quitting. But, if you brought it up the days after or weeks after October 7th, people would say, don't talk about that now. Don't talk about that now. We'll talk about that afterwards. Well, why are they still in charge? And my son is taking orders from these guys? And you can't say anything. You can't say anything. You don't want to bring down morale. You know, it's true. Your sons have to follow orders. It's very hard. It's very, very disheartening. There are a lot of mistakes made. And, you know, there were stories out that some of these Army, the girls who actually monitor activity along the fence, were telling the superiors, there's something they're doing, it is too active, they are planning something, it is dangerous, they're up to something. And their commander said, shut up, be quiet, leave me alone, I don't want to hear it. So it's bad, and what do we learn? What do we learn? If it looks like a horse, it's a horse, right? Don't underestimate your enemy. I actually asked my son, you know, how did they get through the fence in so many different places? How could that happen? He said, Mom, they were planning it. They planned explosives underneath. They were going up and having these big protests against the fence right under the noses of the IDF. And at the same time, the protests, they were burying things underneath. And they were checking and they were marking who's guarding. And they were planning it. This was a plan. They even have the written plan. And the intelligence division of the Army found this plan. And again, we're told, leave me alone. It can't be. They're just dreaming. So, here we are, 11 months later.
Speaking about horses, Natalie, the concerns that provide the PTSD services for these soldiers, are they doing it gratis, or are they?
No. These are paid professionals.
Okay.
No, they're therapists. They're paid, and when you say the government helping, it's the Bituach Leumi, the medical services partnering with it. Our donors partner with it. We make it so it's a very low payment for the parents, and some of them, you know, just use it. They're almost like you have a HMO system here, I think, for medical. It's that type of system. They pay like a co-payment, very low, and it'll be helped by the donor. The donations will help it.
Even in Judea and Samaria?
It's not going to be in Judea and Samaria. It's going to be in Givat Zev. Oh, actually, that is Judea and Samaria. Givat Zev is outside of Jerusalem. But yeah, right now the farm we have is in along the Gaza border. It's not in Judea and Samaria. And that would be great if we had a lot more of these farms. But it's very effective treatment, apparently, and it works for the kids, and I think it'll work for the soldiers. And unfortunately, there are a lot of soldiers. A lot of soldiers need this. I even met one. Like I told you, I met one, and he seemed perfectly normal to me. And maybe I'll bring him next time. You know, I'm trying to convince him to join us. There are a lot of these soldiers who, what do they say? They say anything can set it off. Yeah.
How do they manifest? What is the
symptoms?
Yeah.
How do you see it? You, like I said, anything can set it off, meaning a loud noise can set it off, a memory, something will trigger it, yeah. And you know, you can imagine them being in the tunnels for all those months, right? I'm not really the right person to ask, but it's unfortunately pervasive, and there's so many of them have it, and they probably don't even know it until it happens. So that's a whole area of Israeli specialty now, PTSD. I mean, it happens to American servicemen too. And that will be something now that Israel is going to be known for, being specialists in handling PTSD. Anybody else? Yes?
Are you getting, are there a lot of Americans, Jewish, that are going to Israel to help?
Yes, we've had a lot of people coming. It's slowed down because I think a lot of the airlines have boycotted Israel pretty much. But ever since October 8th, people have been coming over and helping and working on the farms. And like I said, going to the hospitals. There's actually like a center to help soldiers at the Shuva Junction. That's the junction very close to the Gaza border. And you can basically get off your airplane and just go there and help. And things are set up. And there are volunteer lists I've joined, and wow, it's just a ton going on. And it hasn't let up. It hasn't stopped. people need the help because a lot of the farmers left. And a lot of people who own those farms, they're serving. So you see, like, this man needs help in his farm. His mother is sick, and he's in the middle, and he's in service. So can anybody come and pick blueberries on Friday from 6 in the morning till noon? Yeah. And so these groups of people who come to visit go. It's great. I've gone on my own. I went for my birthday to pick oranges. I made Jordan come with me once to pick lemons. I planted cabbages one day. There's a ton. And it's really beautiful. Israel supplies its own food. We don't really need to import anything. But now we just need the labor. And it's working. People are coming. There are a lot of people who are helping. It's good. On your trip, actually, that's probably something you guys should do.
2026.
Okay, 2026. So, I'm here for questions. Please take material. Outside, I have a sign-in sheet. If you could just say you came and put your email, I'll send you our newsletter. I do a newsletter every 2 weeks or so. Like I said, these are prayer cards. I think I told you about them, yes? Take one, they're out there. Actually, I'll pass these out. And thank you all for coming. Yes?
I have a question. Could you tell me about the young people who are entering into the army, and what's their perspective? Like, you said that your son is 18, he's going to be entering the army in March. How is the morale and the mindset of those young people entering the army?
Great question. Morale's high. It's not letting up. They are eager to serve. My daughter will also be serving. She's going to be a fighter. She wants to be a fighter. She just got her date to, it's like a tryout. She's only 17. I can't believe it. And the morale is high. That's part of Israel. That's part of the culture. Although I just learned last week, and this is surprising, that 50% of the population does not serve. Now, some of those are Haredi,
Right.
and some of those are very left-wing secular who come up with excuses. But the people who live where I live, in Judea and Samaria, are very dedicated fighters, and they go to pretty elite units. And where we live in Susia, you can look us up and you're going to see the commandos. Susia is known for being commandos. And all my boys so far have been fighters. And you're kind of looked down upon a little bit if you're not. But, it's almost like a football team type of thing. Everyone has their team and they, I'm this, I'm that. The morale is high, the morale is strong. This is why boys, when they're 18, are taken to the army. Because they are young and they have no fear. All right, so I'm going to pass this on these cards.